Welcome, everyone, to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, I am very much looking forward to sharing with all of you the insights that Spirit gave me for November, for the November energy update. And there are a lot. Like, I'm looking at my notes here, and there's a lot that Spirit wants to talk about. So I'm going to dive right in and just, get to the goods. So, the first and the biggest overall piece that Spirit wanted to share about the energy of November is that a new reality is upon you. That was the words that they gave me. A new reality is upon you. And they've been talking about this a little bit in some of the card readings and the messages leading up to this about observing this new energy. Things are new. There's a different frequency, a different way in which we're living, which all leads to a new reality is upon us now. And one of the reasons for this is something that Spirit talked about last week in the Wednesday message from Spirit. And as well, I think they talked about it a little bit on Galactic Thursday's message. So they're covering it from all angles. And they really wanted me to mention it here. Is we have this really neat play between two timelines right now. I know a lot of people are talking about timelines right now, and there's all kinds of insights on it, opinions, ideas, timelines are valid, timelines are not valid. Again, it's for you to take what resonates for you, even with what I'm saying. Take what resonates and leave the rest. So what I want to share with what I got about these timelines is they explained it to me like a bubble. And we are living in this main bubble right now of a timeline. And there's another bubble just beside us. And the bubble is actually like attached to this bigger one. So if you've ever blown bubbles as a kid, sometimes two bubbles will kind of stick together and float along. So we are in the main bigger bubble, but there's a smaller one kind of stuck to the side of this one. And the areas in which it's stuck to it is where there's sort of like a crossover. And this crossover in energy, if you will, in timeline realities, if you will, is where it's kind of causing a bit of a blur or confusion as to why certain things are happening in your life that don't make sense. So, what I really like, first of all, Spirit said, anchor into the higher timeline, the bigger bubble. Because believe it or not, we are in the bigger bubble with the higher timeline. Anchor yourself there. And you'll know you're in the right timeline if you feel, it's not even if, you're in the higher timeline when you're grounded in your true soul energy and you can feel you're anchored within self. When you do that and you anchor in self, you're automatically in that higher timeline because you're aligning with your authentic self, which is a very high frequency. If you feel you're being pulled into dramas and these dramas are starting to affect you, you're kind of being yanked into that other bubble on the side. And all you have to do, I mean, sometimes it's easier said than done, but the main idea is bring yourself back to self. Release the things that are stressing you, release your attachment to them, release the attachment to the outcomes, and come back to center into yourself. When you do that, a lot of the external things can start to settle. And again, that's general because sometimes we do have some very pressing 3D things that need to be dealt with. But the key is to try and bring your energy back to your core self, your heart space, your authentic resonance, whatever word represents what that is for you, that core pillar within you. That is where you are creating your reality from. And that is what is most important for you to come back to. Now, what was really neat is Spirit went even deeper as to why these two timelines are here. And it made so much sense when they explained it. So this big bubble is actually the energy of Pluto in Aquarius. And the smaller bubble is the energy of Pluto in Capricorn. And what I love about this is Pluto moved into Aquarius in the beginning of the year, which is a big thing, a big new energy, new shift into awakening, this big planet of like death and destruction and revolution and change, moving into Aquarius, which is an air sign, which is like the change maker. There's been songs sung about the age of Aquarius forever. And so it's that kind of energy that Pluto is moving into. But then Pluto went and moved back into Capricorn, then back into Aquarius again, and back into Capricorn one last time, which we're still technically in right now, depending on when you're watching this. Because what happens is Pluto will finally move fully into Aquarius on November 19th and then stay there for the next 20 years. So sometimes when the planets are, moving in the sky, which is really just the energetics of it, they will sometimes shift back and forth in and out of a certain position until they finally sort of move in permanently into that position for a number of years. Sometimes it's a couple years, sometimes it's many. And Pluto, being a really big planet with a lot of energy, will be firmly in Aquarius November 19th. And so that's how we're seeing these two bubbles. The big bubble is that energy of the new beginnings, the new creation, the new possibilities of Pluto and Aquarius. But we've had to move back into Pluto and Capricorn right now. But the energy of Pluto and Aquarius is still there. And that's what we're anchoring into. So that's why for many of you, I can't remember when Pluto went back into Capricorn again. I think it was in September. Many of you are thinking like from September to now, you're like, what the heck is going on? What is happening? Why is life so, thrown on its head? Or why are things backwards? Or what? I thought I was on a path. It's this energy which show themselves in two timelines. And these two timelines are like converging right now. And Spirit is saying, stick to the core timeline of where we're moving forward. And that leads me into the next point, that as we hit that energy of November 19th, it doesn't mean it'll be specifically on that day, but it could be around that day, shortly after, shortly before. They said many will feel a massive relief. And they said it would be like a big sigh, a breath out, an ability to be like, that breath where like your nervous system relaxes, you can actually catch your breath. However that experience is for you, around that time, we'll start to see a little bit of that settling of these two sort of competing timelines. It'll start to feel a little bit clearer. Now, one thing to remember is if it's feeling unclear for you even then, that's then the opportunity where you get to rearrange some things, because once the bubble of Pluto and Capricorn is popped and we're back in the singular timeline, you can look at what's going on around you and change things, shift things, see where they land, and then make it work for you, that kind of thing. So that's why Spirit is like, there's a new reality upon you. Stay anchored where you are, hold that until Pluto finishes its run in Capricorn and shakes up and reveals whatever it is you still need to see. And they explained it to me that for some people, it's like, so say you are, let's use this as a metaphor. Say you're moving into a new house and you're excited about your new house. You're ready to move in. That's Pluto and Aquarius energy, new house, new place, new beginnings. But you have to still go back to your old house and clean it up, because you can't leave your old house a mess, because energetically that mess will follow you. So Pluto moving back into Capricorn is you going back to that old house, cleaning it up, tying up loose ends so that you can freely, karma-free, tether-free, move into this new house and this new beginning. That's that new reality that is upon you. So that's a really exciting thing. And that's a very promising energy moving forward. But leading up to that, so the beginning of November might feel like it just gets extra intense, extra dicey, extra chaotic. And Spirit right now is just saying, stay out of the fray, is what they're saying. So stay out of the fray, stay out of the noise. It doesn't mean you're ignorant to what's going on. I never think it's valuable being ignorant to things. I think it's really important that we observe what's happening, but we do that in observer mode versus like heart all in observing the chaos, because that's really hard, right? So try and sit back, notice. This brings me into my next point. What is the truth in your external world and what is the truth in your internal world? Because the two might be very, very different. And I can give an example of that. This was a hard one, but it was like, it was like a radiating bell where you could just hear the echo, like you couldn't deny the echo. For me, this experience of external and internal was when I was really sick, and externally, and I'll use my body even as the external, my physical body was not well. Things were not well. We couldn't figure it out. Doctors were all over the place. The external was chaos, but my internal, that resonance, that sense of truth and knowing was so constant. Even when I felt like Spirit wasn't really talking to me anymore, and they stepped back because I needed to just focus on healing, even then, I still could feel this resonance of like solid frequency. So that's just an example, maybe a little bit more extreme, but like notice what's happening in your external world and notice what's happening in your internal, because you can root and anchor into the internal. Even through chaos, you can choose your perspective, like Spirit always says. And that perspective will have more stability when you link it to the internal world, what's happening within you. Now, for those of you, though, that are having the opposite experience, you may find that your external world, everything is in order. Everyone's doing well, feeling fine, and your internal world feels really chaotic. Maybe inside you're dealing with some trauma that's come up. Maybe you're dealing with some insecurity issues, maybe nervousness about stepping into something new, whatever it might be. In that case, you can pull from the strength of your external world to help you change and morph your internal. So just what Spirit is wanting is for us to notice the difference, be able to kind of like put column A and column B side by side so you can kind of look at them and not mix them up, because being able to separate the two will really help. I was going to say your brain, but Spirit's like mind, body, and spirit to really kind of move through your new reality and be clearer about what's going on. All right. The next thing they're saying is go into your body and mend. Mend your body as much as possible leading up to 2025. So I find this really interesting because, again, 2024 has been about getting our bodies online. Our bodies have been turned on. And a lot of people have noticed a lot of sickness happening for many people kind of through, August, September, October, lots of things happening for people. Myself included. I will be talking about this more in Cosmic Consciousness this month. So if you want to know more about my experience through understanding the body as an entity and what that really means, it's fascinating. Join me for Cosmic Consciousness. You can sign up at any time. But in short, we have had our bodies turn on in order to show us where there's weaknesses so that we can be in our full power. And that is understanding the body as a third entity. So part of that process is getting into the body, discovering where the deficiencies are, as well as noticing where your strengths are, but mend the body where it needs mending. Your body is asking, and again, I'm saying this generally, so if it resonates for you, then there's something there, but it is asking for you to pay attention. Notice where are the aches and pains? What does it need? How do you need to mend that? There's many different practices for mending our bodies, movement, breath, acupuncture, you name it. So many different ways to mend it. Even emotional healing and somatic healing can help release density in the body that was causing a physical ailment. So doing that leading up to 2025 is going to be so helpful, because here's a little insight about 2025. There are huge transformations happening that you will have a bigger hand in. The best way I can explain it. And I'll talk more about that as we get closer to 2025. But the planets are aligning in a certain way that's going to give a lot of like revolutionary change, but not just happening to you. It's like with you. You have a hand in it. It's huge co-creative year, 2025. Oh my gosh. Co-creation, like madness. Now, to really co-create though and manifest through our will, big piece is getting the body into that piece, involving the body into it, because it's a third entity, like I will talk about. So that was another one that Spirit wanted to mention. Now, the other thing they talked about too was, as you're kind of moving through this mending and even noticing the external and the internal world and what's shifting for you, notice the echoes from the past. And they said, notice that in most cases, they are simply the echo. And that really was an invitation to let go of the past, let go of the things that you have been through, and move forward with the knowledge that you carry now. Because the echoes are simply the echoes. They're not the current sound anymore. That sound, that original sound was already made, and now it is the echoes. And as you start to walk away into your new direction, away from the echo, you'll notice they'll start to get quieter and quieter. So that was sort of their metaphor or their analogy for letting go of the past as you mend and heal, release all that you can. Because again, you're birthing this new reality. You're stepping into this new reality. You're going to be co-creating like crazy in 2025. And we don't need to be dragging baggage with us that way. So releasing what we can. And one of the beautiful ways to release things is to really embody and anchor ourselves in the present now. And that can be reviewing things in your life. Like, what can I do better? What can I shift? What have I been doing that maybe I could do differently to honor who I am now? How can I anchor my presence here now? And part of that is sometimes we learn something we were doing or a way we were being that when we realize we're like, ooh, I don't like that at all. And it's the idea of once you know better, do better. And spirit really stands by that. Once you know better, do better. They do not expect us to be here and be here perfectly. That's not why we were incarnated. That's not why we came in forgetting everything. We came in to explore and to learn and to grow. And part of that is growing through the experimentation of trying things. And when you try the thing, does it resonate with you or does it not? And if you do something and then you shift it, it's like releasing that past echo of, ooh, I didn't like that. That was what you chose then. What you're choosing now is what matters. So it's really empowering. Excuse me. It's really empowering right now as you move yourself forward. So plant yourself, ground yourself here in the now. Now, the last point I want to bring up is that there is an awakening of ancient power really growing and coming to the surface. We've been talking about this since, gosh, is it 2020? 2020, I think, or 2021, maybe. I can't recall. And it is about this golden light frequency on our planet. And for many that have wondered, like, since I had changed this a little while ago, this disc that I got reminds me of the golden light frequency. That's why I got it. When I saw it, I was like, gosh, it's exactly it. This radiating like sunbeam, but it's golden light consciousness radiating from each and every one of us. And we can tap into it if we want, but we have to tap into it. And it is being released from our planet. And I shared this a couple of years ago, but the trees, for example, each tree has been like a storehouse, a wisdom keeper of this golden light consciousness, that they're now emitting it. The trees are now emitting it because it's the right time on our planet. And they've been doing this for the last couple of years, is releasing this golden light frequency to match with those that can match it. And so many people are matching that now. And that's why there's this rise of ancient power on our planet. And it's not just coming from the trees. It's coming from so many different places, but that's why Mother Earth is so important right now. That's why there are new discoveries being made of different tombs being found. So much is coming to the surface because there's this reawakening of ancient power for the masses. But the access to that power is soul frequency. That power cannot be stolen. It cannot be found and hidden. It is not an object. It is a power source unlocked by frequency. And it can only be unlocked by frequency of the heart is the best way I can explain it. It can't be unlocked by a selfish frequency. It's a frequency key, right? And that's what makes it so beautiful. But we're going to be stepping into this more and more, which ties back to why the body is so important. It needs that third piece, that trinity to really anchor the capacity to bring through this golden light frequency. And this is also why on Thursday, depending when you're watching this past Thursday, when my galactic guides brought through a message that we are getting smarter and more intellectually capable, right? Like faster computing processes in our brain. And we're noticing it. And I loved how many of you commented, you're noticing that too. That is your frequency reaching the level of the golden light frequency. And it's unlocking consciousness. And consciousness shows itself in so many ways. And so we're tapping back into this ancient power, these codes, if you will, these activations of expression, which are really going to help with innovation and all of this kind of stuff coming in 2025. So this new reality, if I bring it all the way back to the beginning, like Spirit said, new reality is upon you. It truly is. And we are making great strides in certain ways. But their focus is really like you focus on you, focus on your reality right now, because that is going to make the biggest difference in anchoring this for so many other people. And that's how we really help shift this frequency, which is moving and shifting. So I will leave that with all of you. I hope you enjoy this update. I hope it helps to bring some beautiful energy and consciousness to your day, to your thoughts, to your ponderings, and really that you take away the knowledge that you are innately powerful and you are tapping into it. You can tap into it. You are worthy to tap into it because you matter. So I'll leave that with all of you. Thank you so much as always. Please do share and subscribe and all of that goodness. Rate the podcast if you're listening in the audio. And lastly, I do want to say also check out some of my music. I've been working on some new music lately. It's only available right now on YouTube, but you can find it on my YouTube channel, Ginette Biro Medium. And it's really channeled music to help you connect into your journey, whatever it may be, however it speaks to you. It is channeled through sound without lyrics at this point. There will be some with lyrics, but it is to unlock energy and frequency for you. So I hope you enjoy that too. And I wish you all a beautiful rest of your week. And I will see you all next week. Have a good one.